My beloved child, the noise of this world can inflate the ego, but only stillness brings the soul back to the source of life. When you stop negotiating with the sounds that pull you away from the covenant, you will hear my voice, gentle, yet strong enough to rescue the seasons you thought you had lost. For I do not merely forgive your past, I also redeem the years you believed had rotted away. As long as you pause to hear me right beside you. There was a time when the prophet Elijah fled in despair, his spirit so weary that he thought God had fallen silent toward him. But when he went up to Mount Horeb, I did not come to him in a storm that shook the mountains, nor did I come in a blazing fire that made the earth tremble. Those deafening things were only the noise of life, not my voice. I came to him in a very gentle whisper, so small that only those willing to be still could recognize it. Only when Elijah shut out the chaos around him did he realize I had never left him, and his assignment was not yet finished. So it is with you. My child, I am still speaking, but you will only hear when you choose to be quiet. You do not realize that the very noise demands, pressures, the things that keep you running has blurred my presence. Many cry, Lord, save me, yet refuse to stop, refuse to be still long enough to hear the guidance I am preparing for them. Restoration does not begin with me changing your circumstances, but when you allow me to change my place within you from a backup option to the center. My child, I have never treated your shattered years as waste. I gather every fragment, wipe away every layer of dust, and set them upon the foundation of what I am rebuilding. But to see it, you must stop so your soul can settle, so your spiritual eyes are no longer veiled by what you assumed mattered most. In stillness, you will realize I was never far. You were simply too busy to notice my hand touching your life. Your past, though marked with cuts, is not meaningless. It is a school, not a prison. Yet many, afraid of repeating mistakes, choose to remain in regret instead of stepping out. They take failure as their identity, make wounds their shelter, and imprison their own souls in a place I never meant them to live. My child, I am mighty enough to turn the dead ends you once chose into roads that lead you into maturity. But for that to happen, you must admit the truth, release what has decayed, and move forward with faith that I am leading you. True repentance is not endlessly accusing yourself. It is turning around and walking toward the light I set before you. You take one step, and I will restore an entire stretch of the road, but I cannot lead a child whose gaze is fixed behind more than it is fixed on me. There are whispers the world sows into your heart, words that sound reasonable yet slowly dry out your soul. They make you normalize distance from me, accept sin as something natural, and rationalize weakness instead of surrendering to be healed. My child, my word is not a passing comfort. My word is a sword of liberation, a light that opens the way, a truth that will become reality in your life. Even if you are in a dark stretch, my word remains steadfast, unchanging, and it will accomplish what I have spoken. If you want to stand firm, you must learn to discern which voice leads you back to life, and which voice pulls you into old cycles. Your soul is a field, and if you do not guard it, a stranger will sow bitter seeds, and you will drift from me without even noticing. Therefore I call to you, be still so you may hear rightly, and walk in my word so you will not lose your way again. At times you wonder why you pray so much, plead so earnestly, yet the door of deliverance still has not opened. You think I am silent, but in truth, your inner noise has grown too loud to recognize my whisper. I do not force my way into the chaos you choose to keep, nor do I compete with the agitation that exhausts your heart. I stand right beside you, yet the noise of life has built an invisible wall between us. Little child, restoration does not sprout in noisy places. It begins when you are brave enough to stop and let your soul breathe with the peace I give. Restoration is opened ears, not hands, clutching for more. And so the first thing I want is for you to listen. You often look for change by changing jobs, changing environments, changing the people around you, but how long has it been since you tried changing my position in your heart when I am only your last resort? Life will always feel like a boulder on your shoulders, but when I become the center, even the tangles within you begin to find order. I do not push you into trials only to abandon you in darkness. It is you who have kept running after the noise until my light was hidden. Stop, my child, so I may reorder your heart like a craftsman restoring an old instrument. When the strings are tightened in the right places, the melody of restoration will begin to rise. You have not seen how I have been gathering the fragments of your life for years. Just when you thought those losses had sunk into forgetfulness, I picked them up again and placed them in your hands, like stones, to build a new foundation. Yet each stone becomes steady only when you allow me to teach you how to set it. The noise of self-blame makes you think you have lost too much. That time cannot be regained, but I am the one who refreshes withered years, who repays seasons you thought had slipped away with living new life. To receive that portion, you must stop condemning yourself and look to me, the one who has not abandoned you for a single moment. I know the world has driven you too fast, until you can no longer hear even the sigh of your own soul. You have lived for years like someone running a race, always feeling you lack something, never willing to stop. But my child, the sickness of the soul is not found in what you have not yet done. It is found in your refusal to be quiet long enough to receive the healing I have for you. Stillness is not escape. It is the space I have made so that you and I can meet without interruption. I wait for you there without forcing you, yet never ceasing to invite you, because only when you are still will you feel the rhythm of my heart for you, so you may understand more deeply. Let me tell you a story. Few people notice in Scripture the story of the boy Samuel. When night fell and I spoke the first time, he assumed it was his teacher. The second call, then the third, and he still did not recognize it was my voice. It was not that Samuel was stubborn. His heart was simply not yet accustomed to a voice from heaven. Only when the world had fallen asleep, only when the temple became quiet, did Samuel answer, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." And that moment of stillness became the beginning of an entire life used as a prophet. Do you see, I am always speaking, but only those who are willing to be quiet can hear. My child, sometimes you think I am slow, but it is your haste that ruins what I am preparing. Everything I build has its rhythm. A young plant pulled up too quickly will snap rather than grow. Look back, how many rushed decisions have left you exhausted? How often have you chosen noise instead of choosing me? Yet be at peace, I do not accuse you. I only want you to know that what you have sought for so long is not in the things you keep chasing, but in stopping, exhaling, and letting me lay my hand upon your soul. You often want me to change your circumstances first, but I want to change you first. For if you carry the same old soul into a new environment, the same wounds will repeat their patterns. What you are asking me to change outside will not truly change until your heart is restored within. Do not fear stillness. In silence, I do not leave you to face emptiness. I open a door for you to face yourself and the things I wrote over your life from the beginning. Sometimes, the message I have for you is held in only 2 words: don't run. My child, restoration is not a miracle that arrives in one dazzling moment. It comes little by little, like dew settling on grass before dawn. You may not notice right away, but one day you will find yourself lighter, stronger, more awake, simply because you have returned to the still place of your soul. When you place me in the middle of your turmoil, I will adjust every detail of your life with my wisdom. And when you do not know where to begin with something simple. Stop to listen. Listen with your heart, not with your ears. Do not think stillness will make you lose anything. It is noise that makes you lose me. Noise enlarges the ego, but shrinks the soul. Stillness shrinks the ego, but expands the soul to receive life from heaven. I do not want you strong only on the outside. I want you strong from within, a strength as gentle as spring water, yet strong enough to extinguish the fire of anxiety. When you return to me in quietness, everything will begin to find its proper order again. And it is in that simplicity that I do my deepest work. Then there will come a time when, in that stillness, you will not only hear me, you will begin to hear yourself again. You will realize what you truly need is not more achievements, more praise, or more control. What you need is to be held in my heart, where you are seen with mercy rather than judgment. You will feel your heart settle, your ego soften, your fears dissolve like mist before the sun. And then, what I want to say to you will become so clear that you will wonder why you did not hear it sooner. What I am placing in your heart is not meant to be kept only within stillness. It is preparation for the journey you are about to take. Stillness is not the ending, it is the beginning. When your soul stands steady in me, you will know how to walk old roads with a new heart. You will understand how vital it is to recognize my voice, to distinguish it from the deceptive voice that waits at the door of your heart. And when my voice has become your compass, you will be ready to face your own past without trembling anymore. There are things you have carried so long that you believe they are part of your body. Wounds become habits. Sadness becomes breath. And painful memories cling to your soul until you think you were born that way. But my child, there is no pain I have allowed you to pass through without a meaning for your growth. The issue is not what happened, but how long you choose to remain there. When you treat sorrowful memories as your home, you give darkness the right to cover the light I want to shine upon your life. I want you to understand the past can teach you, but it is not allowed to imprison you. Sometimes you look back on your years and say, I am ruined. But I look at those same years and gently reply, you are being reshaped. You call it failure. I call it ground that will make you stand firmer. You call it loss. I call it space for me to fill with something new. You think time has passed beyond saving. I can redeem every second if you place it in my hands. My child, do not let fear blur your eyes so you cannot see my hand resting on every page of your past. There is no chapter of your life I have ever considered useless. At times I see you walking as if you are carrying an entire old sky on your shoulders. You bow your head under the weight, unaware that much of what you carry does not belong to the present. It belongs to days long gone. You wake up into today's struggles, yet you live by yesterday's memories. I do not want you to pretend the past never existed. I simply do not want you to build a house on land meant only for lessons. Anyone who lives in sorrow too long will forget they were born to keep moving forward. I do not blame you. I only grieve that you have locked yourself in a room whose door I opened long ago, my child, so you may understand more clearly. I want to tell you a story. Many often overlook the story of Lot's wife. When I drew Lot's family out of Sodom, I did not only rescue their bodies from a place of sin, I also wanted to free their souls from the past. But that woman, with a single backward glance, became a pillar of salt. That act was not mere curiosity, it was the shadow of a heart still bound to what I had told her to release. People may not turn to stone in body, yet many souls still turn to stone in that way when they keep looking toward what I called them to leave behind. Do you see? The past is a lesson, but if you stay in it, it becomes a chain. I see the nights when you lie still, staring at the ceiling, wondering why you cannot move past certain old things. You do not realize that pain when fed for too long, becomes a familiar refuge. It makes you afraid of change, afraid of light, afraid of new hope. Because staying in darkness means you do not have to believe in anything again. But my child, that is not where I formed you to live. I made you to live, not merely to exist, to grow, not to shrink, to move forward, not to spin in old circles. I come to open the door, but you must be the one who steps out. Sometimes you do not release the past not because you refuse, but because you believe you are unworthy to enter a new future. You punish yourself by reliving your mistakes, as if pain were a kind of payment. But I did not teach you that. True repentance is seeing the wrong, taking responsibility, and then turning to walk on. Staying in regret is not moral. It is simply the way you avoid what you need to do. Rise up. I am not seeking children who know how to harm themselves. I want children who believe I can remake everything from the very place where they once broke. You think the past will follow you forever, but in truth, you are the one holding it back. What I have cut off, you stitch back on. What I told you to bury, you dig up again. What I have forgiven, you condemn yourself for once more. I do not grow weary of forgiving. I only ache when you refuse to move on. For I know that when you cling to the old, you have no hands left to receive the new. Let me hold what you are afraid to face, because you were not born to keep circling back to the beginning. Pain is not meaningless, but I never intended it to become your home. Your home must be peace, not torment. The past can be a staircase if you stand on it, but it becomes a pit if you lie down in it. Let me turn your mistakes into witnesses of a changed life, not into a sentence over you. When you place your past into my hands, I will keep writing the part you thought had no blank pages left. And when you look back, you will see the place that once hurt you is precisely where I opened a way for you to grow. There are memories that make you shudder, words that once cut so deeply into your heart that you think you will never heal. But you forget that I heal, not according to the size of the damage, but according to your willingness. You only need to open a small crack in your soul, and I will enter the rest. Healing does not begin with everything being forgotten. It begins when you allow me to look into the places you hide. I am not afraid of your wounds. I only fear you will keep them as a dark treasure. If you knew how I look at you, you would never dare to call yourself by the harsh names your past once pinned on you. You are not a failure, not a mistake, not the things people spat out in anger. You are what I formed with the gentle hands of the Creator. And anything I create is never born to wear the label unchangeable. My child, when you see yourself as a prisoner, you forget that I gave you the key long ago. I want you to remember this. Stepping out of the past is not running away, it is moving in the right direction. You are not betraying your memories when you release them, you are simply refusing to let them govern your future. And when you begin to walk, even trembling, I will walk alongside you, not letting you fall into the darkness again. A day will come when you realize the past no longer speaks with the power it once had. My voice will grow louder within you. When the light is strong enough, the darkness withdraws on its own. And my child, once you understand the value of leaving old days behind, you will more easily recognize the voices trying to pull you back into the alleys that once imprisoned your soul. You will begin to discern what is the voice of pain that has not yet been released, and what is my whisper guiding you out of the loop. And when that discernment takes shape, you will stand firm against the temptations that try to return you to what is familiar. You will learn something important. Not every echo from the past deserves to be heard. There is something I want you to understand, and understand deeply. Not every echo in your mind belongs to you. Some sounds are very soft, very gentle, very reasonable, yet they plant doubt in you, hesitation, and a cold distance from me. They do not come as a shout, They come as a whisper, so subtle you do not notice that your spiritual ground is being encroached upon little by little. My child, the enemy does not need to break down the door. It only needs you to crack your heart open for a moment when you are weary. That is why I teach you discernment, so you know which voice to heed and which voice to stop. Your soul is a garden, and whom you allow to enter will decide the season you will reap. Sometimes you think, I'm only thinking, but you do not realize that many thoughts come from sources that are not of me. Words like I'm not good enough, I'll never change, I'm not worthy of God's grace. None of these come from me. My word does not drain you. My word raises you up. My word does not drive you away from me. My word draws you back into my arms. You must learn to listen with the eyes of your soul what makes you reject the light and what leads you closer to me. It is there that your spiritual boundaries are formed. There are times you wonder why your heart suddenly feels heavy, even though nothing unusual happened that day. My child, that is the moment you are being attacked in your softest place, your thoughts, like a current flowing backward. Unfamiliar thoughts slip in when you lack watchfulness, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. The enemy is not afraid of your footsteps, but it is afraid of your ability to discern what is my voice. For when you can discern, it will have no foothold, and that begins with you guarding the door of your mind carefully, refusing to let any strange wind sweep in. Let me tell you a story. Few speak of the story of Elisha's servant, who trembled when he saw the enemy surrounding the city. His natural eyes saw only danger, and his spiritual eyes had not yet been opened. Only when Elisha prayed for me to open his eyes did he see the army of angels, far more numerous, encircling them to protect them. Do you see? A person can shake under the weight of fear simply because their eyes cannot yet discern spiritual reality. If you look only through emotion, you will always think you are about to lose. But if you see through eyes I have opened, you will know you were never alone. Discernment is not knowledge, it is grace I give, so you can live in truth. There are whispers that make you excuse what is wrong, as if it were no big deal. Rebellion never leads you into sin all at once. It only lowers your standards, little by little. When you allow something small to slip in, something larger will seek to take residence. I have seen many souls fall, not because of one failure, but because they did not build boundaries from the very first voice they should have questioned. My child, sin does not arrive as thick darkness. It begins as a patch of shade you assume is harmless. Let me set the fence again around your soul. You often think spiritual boundaries are rigid, but in truth they are my outstretched arms, protecting you from what destroys from within. When you can discern my voice, you are no longer easily pulled by emotion or by what others say. You will stand steady in truth, even when the circumstances around you try to blur the light. I do not want you to fear any other voice. I want you to recognize that my voice alone can lead you into life. And when you have tasted my peace, you will find it easier to refuse the voices that stir unrest. At times you think every opposing voice comes like a storm, but in fact it often comes as familiarity. It mimics your voice. It mimics the voice of those you trust, and it even mimics mine. It says, God understands you don't need to change. But my word never indulges self-destruction, and it never encourages you to remain hardened and unmoved. The opposing voice does not make you humble, it makes you delay. My voice does not exhaust you, it makes you walk with renewed strength. When you recognize this subtle difference, you will no longer be so easily tempted. You need to know this, my word is always creative. When I speak, life springs forth. When I speak, truth makes a way. But the opposing voice is always destructive. It makes you doubt yourself. Doubt me. Doubt the value I have placed within you. It drains your hope, clouds your vision, weakens your faith. So, My child, do not believe every voice just because it sounds reasonable. Watch where it leads your heart. Reason can be deceived, but your heart will know when it is I who am speaking. When you understand the importance of spiritual boundaries, you will not take lightly the moments you feel unusually weary. That weariness does not always come from work. Sometimes it comes from listening to too many voices that are not of me. A soul that listens wrongly becomes exhausted faster than a body that labors. But when you return to stillness, you will find my voice like water washing away the dust and haze. I do not blame you for listening wrongly. I only desire that you retrain your spiritual ears until my voice becomes the melody you know best. Do not be afraid that you are incapable of discernment. I will teach you. Each day, as you open my word, a layer of mist will be wiped from your eyes. Each time you pray, a layer of noise will be silenced within you. And every time you choose what is right, even as another voice pulls you backward, your spiritual boundaries are strengthened by another stone. In the small choices, you are rewriting the direction of your life. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be honest with me and with yourself. A day will come when you realize the soul has an enemy, but the soul also has a protector. When you stand in truth, no opposing voice can pull you away from me. You will know how to refuse the invitations that try to draw you into the old spiral. You will know what is warning, what is deception, and what is my shadow of covering over you. And when that happens, you will be strong in the quietest way, without noise, without display, yet unshakable. And beloved child, when your mind has been guarded, when your spiritual ground has been kept, you will begin to understand deeply that I seek intimacy more than ritual. For only when your heart is kept from opposing voices can you hear me in your most private moments where ritual cannot reach. But my love can bloom. There are moments when, even as you read prayers or sing hymns, I still hear your heart silent as a pebble. Not because you are not speaking, but because your soul is operating by habit rather than by love. I see your lips moving, yet I see your heart standing outside. My child, ritual is not wrong. What is wrong is when ritual becomes armor you put on to avoid facing the truth within. I do not invite you to perform a procedure. I invite you to meet me. And that meeting is not measured by the volume of your words, but by the honesty of the breath you offer me. You once thought that doing more for me meant being closer to me. But closeness does not come from the amount you do, it comes from where you place your heart while you do it. When you do things only because others expect it, or because you fear being seen as not devout enough, you turn faith into a burden instead of grace. I did not build a religion to make you a slave. I formed a relationship so you could live in freedom. If you feel that the more you do, the more tired you become, it is not because I demand too much. It is because you are letting form replace life. Stop, and let me reshape that rhythm. I know there are times you try so hard, you no longer remember why you are trying. You join. You serve. You make yourself present in everything. Yet you cannot feel me. I do not accuse you. I only see a child striving to be good enough instead of living in my warmth. I do not want you enslaved to what the world calls right. I want you back to the place where it is only you and me. No pressure. No eyes watching. No price to pay. There, your soul can breathe. And intimacy with me will become natural, not forced. Let me pull you off the wheel of ritual that is wearing your soul down. Do you know why I often met Moses in the tent of meeting, where there was only a veil between us and silence covered everything? Because in that place there were no prayers driven by appearance, no eyes of the world to judge, no pressure to prove strength. There was only Moses and me, face to face, like two friends, That tells you intimacy with me does not come from standing before crowds with a loud voice. It comes when you step into a hidden corner no one sees, and your heart opens fully to me. Spiritual truth does not need ritual to shine, it needs a willing heart. And I am still waiting for that heart from you. Many live their faith by schedule, not by soul. They check each box, prayed, read the word, attended fellowship, yet still cannot touch me. Do not enter that path. When your heart is rushed, ritual becomes a shackle that binds spiritual joy. When your heart is indifferent, ritual becomes a covering you use to avoid what I want to heal and correct. I want you to come to me not by a timetable, but by hunger. The intimacy I seek is not perfection, it is sincerity. My child, I do not need you to be skilled at ritual. I need you to allow me to touch the places you are afraid to bring into the light. Ritual is useful only when it opens the door of the soul. When it replaces that opening, it becomes a wall. Some come to me with polished prayers while their soul is shut tight. Others come with clumsy words, yet their heart is so open that heaven meets earth. I choose the second, for I listen with the heart, not with vocabulary. I do not want you to think I deny the value of ritual. Ritual can help the soul keep its rhythm, like milestones along a road. But if you stare at the milestones and forget where you are going, you will lose your way. I established ritual to protect the soul, not to replace spiritual life. When you read the word as an obligation, it cannot reach the deepest places. But when you read with the desire to meet me, each line becomes my personal voice to you. The difference lies only in where your heart stands. Remember this, I am not seeking sound, I am seeking truth. When you come to me with a face that must protect an image, your soul has no place to be tender and healed. But when you come to me with the confession, Lord, I'm tired, that is where I can begin to renew you. If you bring me only your strong parts, you leave behind the very parts I most want to touch. True intimacy does not require performance. It requires the uncovered soul. Sometimes you think you must speak correctly, pray beautifully, read scripture consistently, in order to be worthy of being heard. But I hear you before you open your mouth. I know you before you know yourself. Do not let words set the value of our meeting. Let truth define it. When you are honest, every ritual becomes alive. When you are false, every ritual becomes empty. I want you to remember Mary, who sat at my feet in stillness. Not many rituals, not many words, not many actions, only a heart that placed my presence above everything else. While Martha was busy, I did not condemn her work. I was only grieved that her busyness covered the moment she could have given to listening to me. My child, sometimes religious busyness is more dangerous than laziness, because it convinces you that you are close to me, while your heart is actually farther from me than ever. I want you to understand that intimacy with me is not a small part of spiritual life. It is the center. When you draw near to me, everything else finds its rightful place, pressures lighten, decisions become clear, and your heart ignites with a joy that circumstances cannot change. When you stand before me, not as a believer on duty, but as a child being held by the Father, every ritual becomes a natural flow instead of a burden, and then you will realize this intimacy is the ground on which I want to set your faith. For only those who know how to stay near me can carry that faith into everyday life, into family, work, finances, and the way they love others. A faith that never touches reality is only ritual, but a faith that lives is a faith nourished by closeness with me. When the flame I placed in your heart has risen, I do not intend for it to burn quietly only in a closed room. That flame was given to light the path you walk, to warm those who live beside you, to melt the ice in places you thought hope could not reach. Faith was not born to rest inside emotion. It was born to step outward, touching even the smallest things in daily life. When you hear me in stillness, what I desire next is that you live what you have heard. Otherwise, what you receive remains only an experience, not yet a way of life. I do not want you to merely be moved. I want you to be made new. Look honestly at yourself. There were seasons when you were fervent, weeping in prayer, trembling at the word. Yet when you stepped out of the holy place, you still lived the same. At home, you still flared up easily, spoke words that wounded, avoided apologizing, closed your eyes to injustice within your family. At work, you still compromised with dishonesty because everyone does it. In finances, you still let debt surround you because of unwise decisions. Yet you called it fate. My child, that is when faith has only touched emotion, but has not yet touched the ground. If you build your future on praise, on passing emotions, on the moral image you try to maintain in front of others, you will always feel like you have to strain yourself just to keep from collapsing. Praise changes. Feelings rise and fall. Public opinion cheers you today and forgets you tomorrow. Only my words and your obedience can keep you truly standing firm. I am not calling you to live impulsively, burning bright in a few on-fire moments and then cooling off. I am calling you to walk in small steps, faithful, quiet, but full of strength that comes from me. When faith touches the ground, it stops being a flame that suddenly flares up and dies out, and becomes a steady light in your everyday life. Family is the first place where I want your faith to show, but it is also often the place where you relax your guard the most. You can be gentle with strangers, but harsh with your own family, patient with the congregation, but quick-tempered with your spouse, your children, your parents. You forget that this very home is a living altar, where I see most clearly whether your faith is real or just a garment you put on when you go out. I am not demanding that you be flawless, but I am inviting you to let me reshape the way you speak, the way you apologize, the way you listen. Every time you choose to hold back a hurtful word, every time you choose to apologize even when you feel you are right, you are letting faith touch the ground. And heaven witnesses those moments as far more beautiful than many eloquent speeches. The place where you live, the way you care for those who are weaker in the family, your attitude toward the elderly, toward little children, all of these are living sermons. Do not think I only hear you during prayer time. I also listen to your voice when you are tired yet still gentle with your family, when you are sad yet still do not vent your anger on others. Every meal, every conversation, every time you step back for the sake of peace is another stone you lay on the foundation of faith. I see these small things, and they delight me, for true faith does not live only on the lips. It lives in the way you love the people closest to you. When you step outside your home, you face a world where values are often turned upside down. In the workplace, people celebrate cleverness that bends the rules, quickness that relies on deceit, flexibility that comes from compromise. You may be tempted to think, if I'm honest, I'll lose out. If I keep my principles, I'll fall behind. But remember, I have never invited you onto an easy path. I have invited you onto a solid one. When you choose to work uprightly, diligently, without deceit, without pretending to agree on the surface while your heart is elsewhere, you are walking by faith, even if no one applauds. That is when your faith touches your work. Instead of being confined within the walls of a church, I do not want you to be lazy and then use my name to excuse it. Many people say God will take care of everything, yet they waste time, lack discipline, refuse to learn, and will not put effort into the work given to them. They use faith as a curtain to cover carelessness, my child. Real faith makes you even more diligent, because you know that everything you do is as if you were doing it for me. When you finish your work with a good spirit and with faithfulness, you are offering me a sacrifice. I receive your honest hours of labor as a fragrance pleasing to me, even if no one else notices. In small workplaces, in repetitive tasks, in jobs the world calls ordinary, I am still there. I am there when you clean a room, process a spreadsheet, care for a patient, teach a child, prepare a meal. If you do it for me, no task is meaningless. Faith does not need a stage. It needs a heart that knows its diligence and kindness are a response to my love. When you live like that, you do not need slogans. People will sense something different in you. There is a very sensitive area. I want to talk to you about money. This is the place where your soul can be choked the most. If you do not let me touch it, you can say a lot about faith, but only when you let me step into the way you earn money, spend money, borrow, and repay. Do I truly become Lord in that area? Debt is not just numbers. It is an invisible burden pressing on your emotions, your family, your ability to hear me. I do not condemn you for wrong decisions, but I call you to learn stewardship again, to know how to stop buying what you do not need, to avoid unnecessary burdens, to be willing to save, to live within the means I have given you. I do not want you to live in constant worry about money, but I also do not encourage you to be careless and leave everything to chance. True faith does not oppose wisdom. It upholds and enlightens wisdom. I want you to learn to plan, to practice self-control, to say enough when your heart wants more, when you are willing to adjust your spending habits. Honestly, face your debts, seek the right kind of help, and pray for strength from me to change. You are allowing me to step into your finances, and I rejoice when I see you gradually stepping out of the tightening spiral that grips your soul. When your wallet is freed from the weight of past mistakes, it becomes easier for you to be a channel of blessing to others. The blessings I give you were never meant only for your own enjoyment. I give so that you may become a river, not a stagnant pond. When you share, support the weak, and help the needy within your means, you are letting faith touch your money. You do not need to boast. You do not need to record your own credit. I see. A single coin you give with a sincere heart is worth far more than large sums given for show. I want to tell you a story that many people only look at on the surface, without stopping to reflect deeply. The story of Zacchaeus. He was rich, but rich in a way that hurt others, using power to collect money unjustly. The day I came to his house, not only was his heart touched, his wallet was turned upside down as well. He said he would repay those he had cheated, making restitution many times over. Do you see? Truly encountering me does not merely stir a person's emotions. It changes how they use money and how they treat those around them. That is faith touching the ground, not just remaining in words. In the same way, the love you have for me does not stop at avoiding evil. It continues in your active choice to do good. You are not only called to do no harm, but also invited to lift up the weak, raise those who have fallen, shelter the lonely. Sometimes it is simply a timely question of concern, a shared meal, an encouraging word, a quiet presence beside someone who is suffering. These things may seem small, but in my eyes, that is faith blossoming. I remember every person you have loved for my sake. Even when you do not keep track, the world around you may never read scripture, but they read your life. They watch how you respond when you are misunderstood, when you are treated unfairly, when you are not acknowledged, when you experience loss. Each reaction is a living page they read to see who I am in your life. If you only speak about me but live as if I am not there, that book will be full of contradictions. But if you stumble, yet know how to rise again, if you hurt yet refuse to become bitter, if you lack yet keep your heart upright, people will see something that words alone cannot fully describe. That is when your faith truly carries a fragrance. My beloved child, I do not call you to be perfect and without blemish by the standards of this world. I invite you on a journey from resting in me, through healing of your past, guarding spiritual boundaries, entering true intimacy, and then letting all of that pour down into your family, your work, your finances, and the way you love others. The more you walk, the more you will see I do not only forgive your past, I am also redeeming the seasons you thought were lost. Each day you choose to live by faith in the midst of ordinary life. Another part of your story is being rewritten by me. And then, when others look at you, they will no longer just hear slogans or see rituals, but see a life that, though not perfect, has truly been renewed. You will become a lamp not blinding, not showy, but bright enough for those wandering in the dark to realize there is still a way home. I am there, in every step where your faith touches the ground, and I will walk with you to the very end of the road. My child, I want you to begin to look at yourself through my eyes, not through the distorted lens of people's words or old memories. In my design, you are not just a survivor of storms, you were made to be a point of light on the dark sea, like a lamp on a cliff that uses my light to guide confused ships offshore. I have placed in you something the world cannot produce and cannot steal: the imprint of my grace, my breath, the redemption story I am still writing in your life. You are like an earthen vessel, fragile on the outside yet holding a heavenly treasure within. Others may only see the weakness outside, but if they are willing to stay close, they will notice that I shine even through your cracks. I did not place you here to be a faint shadow. I have called you to be someone others can look at and recognize that my love still transforms lives that seem ruined. So do not choke this light by believing words of denial, and do not hide what I am doing in you just because you fear people's opinions. Let your eyes, your way of living, your way of forgiving and getting back up, become a living letter about my grace for wandering souls. I want you to train yourself to look forward more than you keep turning back to days gone by. I know in your journey there are chapters full of tears, pages you wish you could tear out. But my child, those chapters are not the whole book of your life. They may leave scars, but they do not have the right to write the ending. The times you collapsed, the wrong choices you made, the scornful looks you endured, none of these are strong enough to destroy the future I am quietly reshaping for you. If you keep carrying old fears and failures with you, you will look at every new door with suspicion, always preparing for the worst. But I did not pull you out of the depths so that you would live in constant expectation of the next disaster. I pulled you up so you would dare to believe in the goodness I still long to do. When you cling to the past, your hands have no space left to hold mine in the present. Let those invisible ropes fall away, and let me lead you on. Placing your trust in me is not a brief emotional burst during prayer, but a choice you need to repeat every day, especially on the days when your heart feels dry and your eyes see nothing bright ahead. I do not promise you a smooth road. I promise I will be beside you on the rough one. So when trouble pours in, when the plans you cherished fall apart, when your prayers seem unanswered, I do not want your first reaction to be doubting my love. If you only stand firm when everything is peaceful, that is not yet faith. That is just a natural reaction to a sunny day. The true value of faith shines brightest at night. I see every time you want to give up but still choose to take one more step. Every time you want to go back to old patterns but ultimately choose to lean on me. Each small decision, though seen by no one, helps your feet grip more firmly onto the rock who is myself. There will be seasons when the enemy does not aim at your outer circumstances, but goes straight for the softest part inside you, your faith. It does not come with a roar, but with familiar whispers. It stirs up old images, touches your deepest fears, and murmurs that my promises are illusions, that you will never really change, that all your effort will in the end be pointless. It borrows the voices of those around you, the offhand comments, even feedback that sounds reasonable, to slowly cool your heart. But remember this, no matter how loud those sounds become, they still circle only on the surface. They cannot touch the core that I have sealed within you. They have no power to erase the covenant I have made, and they cannot enter the deepest places of your soul unless you hand them the key. When you feel yourself beginning to waver, do not run after human arguments. Return to the words I have whispered to you in stillness, because I do not speak lightly and then take my words back. I do not promise and then forget. People may look at your life and say all kinds of things. They praise, they criticize, they label, they draw conclusions. But no matter how sharp their words, they cannot reach the deepest place where my plan is at work in you. Their opinions are like waves on the surface, while the work I do in you takes place on the ocean floor where waves cannot touch. The blessing I give you does not wait for a majority vote before it becomes effective. The doors I open do not need anyone's approval. I am the one who chooses you, the one who teaches you, the one who saves and leads you. No earthly counsel has the right to cancel my purpose. Let your soul rest in this truth, what I have sealed over your life. No one can undo, unless you yourself run away from the place where I have stationed you, out of fear. In the midst of all that noise, the most important thing is that you remember the sacred cord I have tied between myself and you. It is not a fragile agreement that lasts only when you are doing well, nor is it a contract that either side can cancel at any time. It is a covenant written with the blood of my beloved only Son, confirmed by the victory of the cross and the empty tomb. That covenant declares I belong to you, and you belong to me in the days when you burn with zeal and in the days when you are exhausted, when you get it right and when you stumble. Many times you mistakenly think that only when you are moral enough, successful enough, good enough, that covenant still stands. But my child, it is precisely because you are not enough that I chose to establish the covenant on the foundation of grace. If it depended on your effort, it would have collapsed countless times. Because it is built on my faithfulness, it remains steady beyond all your changes. What I am waiting for from you is not a collection of achievements to show off, but a heart that is no longer divided among the things that pull you away from me. When you gradually stop giving space to bitterness, sin, fear, and dark bondages inside, and begin to open those spaces to me, I will cover you with my love in a way you have never tasted before. That love does not come just to soothe you and then leave you with your old chains. It comes to break them. It does not arrive only to wipe your tears and then let you keep living in the same cycles. It comes to shatter the cycle itself. I will set boundaries of peace around you, so that no matter how fiercely the wind howls outside, within you there will be a stability that does not come from your personality or ability, but from my very presence. Let me use both the fire and the pressure of life to forge in your soul a precious endurance. Diamonds are not formed in soft soil on the surface. They are born deep below, over long periods of time, under seemingly unbearable pressure. In the same way, I see the seasons when you are stretched to your limit, the times you can barely breathe under the weight you carry, the nights when all you can pray is, Lord, I can't take this anymore. I do not take pleasure in your tears, but I do not let a single one fall without meaning. When you place these pressures into my hands, I use them to shape your inner character, to make your heart clearer, stronger, more genuine. One day, you will be surprised to realize that it was precisely in the seasons you felt weakest that I was quietly building within you a resilience you never had before. Do not give your heart to those who only know how to sow panic. Some people have become so used to darkness that they can only speak pessimism, using their own past failures as the standard for everyone's future. If you let your ears be filled with those voices, in time you will believe that hope is childish and good dreams are just self-deception. I invite you to respect them as wounded people too. But I do not want you to give them a voice louder than mine in your heart. You are called to reach out and pull others out of the mire, not to sit still in it with them. My love in you will help you know when to hold them close and when to step back so you do not lose yourself in their storm. And even if some despise you, even if some look at you with suspicion, sarcasm, or coldness, remember that your worth does not lie on the scales they are holding. I am the one who sees from the beginning until now. I saw you in your earliest weakness. I witnessed every uncertain step you took in life. I heard the sobs you held back that no one else knew. I know each time you clenched your teeth and said no to what was wrong without receiving any praise. People see only a brief snapshot and rush to judge. I see the whole film. They may freeze you in one moment of time, but I embrace you with a gaze that stretches beyond space and time. When you cling to this truth, criticism is no longer a dagger to your heart, but just a sound that fades away as you keep walking. Let the victory I proclaimed on the cross become the firmest foundation beneath your feet. I entered the final darkness, death itself, to break its chains. I bore your sin so that you would no longer be bound by it forever. I did not merely hand you a document of acquittal. I gave you a new name, a new standing, a new life, a child in the household. That is a guarantee no power can tear apart. Whenever you feel unsteady, turn your heart back to that great moment through the eyes of faith. If I did not spare what was most precious, my own son, to save you, would I abandon you in these passing trials? That question itself will be the anchor that holds your soul when everything else seems to offer no place to stand. Therefore, my beloved little child, rise up, take my hand, and keep walking with a heart that no longer bows to contempt or to the voice of failure. Walk as one who knows they are loved, redeemed, and protected. Let your eyes carry the peace of one who understands they are never alone. Live as someone who knows that each day they continue to exist is further proof that my grace is stronger than the past, stronger than sin, stronger than every external pressure. Though you still have much to learn and many old patterns to unlearn, I do not grow weary of you. I will walk with you step by step, breath by breath, reminding you who you are in me and who I am in you, until my light within you shines brightly enough that others will see and recognize not that you are impressive, but that I have done something wondrous in a life that has learned to surrender. Even though you have heard me call faith to move beyond words and touch every corner of life, I know that this journey is never straight. There will be days when you resolve to live uprightly, gently, lovingly, and yet a careless word, an unexpected event, financial pressure, or an old wound touched again will cause you to stumble precisely where you had just promised me faithfulness. I am not surprised, nor do I push you away. I foresaw every misstep, yet I still chose to give you the chance to walk with me. Nothing, not even the mistakes you yourself create, has the power to pull you from my arms if you still desire to return. What I look at is not a flawless record, but the direction of your heart after each fall. Whenever you falter, yet still whisper, Lord, I do not want to be far from you. That small confession is more precious to me than countless grand but hollow promises. I am a father, and I know which child still wants to come home, even if they are standing very far from the door. When you fear that you have disappointed me, you often close your heart further, believing you must fix yourself first before daring to come to God. But, my child, you have mistaken the starting point. I do not wait for you to be repaired before you come. I am the one who enters the ruins to heal and rebuild. I delight more in a grateful heart still full of fragments than in a polished exterior that is empty inside. I do not need you to perform for me. I need you to be honest with me. When you sincerely confess, I am weak, I failed, I was wrong, but I still want to cling to you. That is when your heart is most beautiful in my eyes. From that place of honest weakness, my blessing continues to flow, unhindered by circumstances or by the judgments you place upon yourself. I do not withdraw my hand simply because your steps are uneven. My favor does not depend on your mood today, on how much you achieved, or on how others evaluate you. I pour blessing into your life like an unending stream into your family, your work, your financial decisions, even into how you face yourself. Outwardly, you may still see lack and struggle, but deep within, I am pouring into you a kind of peace and endurance that the world cannot give and cannot take away. Like a deer longing for fresh water, the more your soul passes through trials, the more it learns that only my presence brings true rest. When you are hurting, when you are disappointed, when all you can manage is a single cry, Lord, I am so tired, that cry reaches straight into my heart. I do not stand at a distance. I bend down, wrap my arms around you, not only to comfort you but to impart life. You must know that I did not wait for you to be clean before loving you. I chose to love you while you were still stained. I do not treat your moments of wandering as reasons to stop sustaining you. On the contrary, they are where my mercy shines most clearly. I come to bind up the parts of your life you thought beyond repair, to lift the places of your soul that have collapsed under discouragement. I restore your strength, not merely with promises, but with my presence in the darkness no one else enters. Gradually, you will realize that you no longer tremble as before, no longer fear as you once did, even though circumstances remain unchanged. This is the sign that I am working deeply within you, quietly yet persistently. And when the soul is fortified from the inside, the outer life will slowly follow. Just as a tree draws life from its roots before leaves appear on its branches, remaining with me is not a phase, it is a turning point. When you truly choose me as your refuge, you will no longer desire to return to what once bound you, even if old habits still try to pull you back. I do not imprison you in a heavy framework. I lead you into an inner land of freedom where you know you belong, are loved, accepted, corrected without being rejected. Hold tightly to this faith like one walking at night, clutching a small lamp. Though the light seems modest, it is enough to keep you from stumbling step by step. Walk on in this way, and you will gradually taste the depth of my grace. Not merely God forgives me, but God walks with me, teaches me, renews me, and uses me, even when you do not yet see yourself as worthy. My grace does not only lift you out of the pit, it leads you onto a new road you have never walked before. I am the opening that leads you out of dead ends your reasoning cannot escape. I am the door into a future that may still have storms, but where you will never face them alone. I am the truth that shatters the lies in your mind telling you that you are useless, that you have no more chances, that your life cannot change. I am the source of life that covers you with fresh mercy every morning, even if you fell last night. When you cling to me, you will experience a strange reality even in lack. You will not lack what matters most, me, as my people once journeyed through the wilderness, not abundant by the world's measure, yet never abandoned. So you too will see your daily manna along your own path, an open door, a supporting person, a timely word, an unexpected renewal of strength within. Therefore, when facing today's challenges, the first thing I want you to guard is not a plan, but peace. Peace is not a gentle feeling, it is the awareness that I am there, at the very center of the storm, not releasing your hand. When your soul is encouraged, the barriers that once seemed enormous will shrink, not because they vanish, but because you begin to see them from my perspective rather than from your fear. Long-held sorrow begins to dissolve when you step into the sacred space I reserve for you alone, where there is only you, me, and truth. There, in the stillness of prayer, I fight for you more than you realize. Some battles are won not through arguments, but through silent tears laid at my feet. The victories I prepare for you do not always appear as outward success. Sometimes they are a home restored after years of turmoil, a heart that learns to forgive after betrayal, a mind no longer enslaved by anxiety. These victories bring quiet laughter back into your household, though no one records them on paper. And believe this, the journey from brokenness to victory does not begin once everything is resolved, but the moment you return, place the chaos before me, and say, I cannot control this anymore, please take hold. From that moment, I begin turning the key. I hold the keys of life, restoration, and the healing of soul and body. No door is too rusted for me to open, but I will open it at the right time, in a way better than anything you could design. When you cry out to me from the deepest place of your fragility, what I do for you often exceeds anything you could imagine. I do not promise that everything will unfold according to your script, but I promise that what I do will always be better for your soul, even when you do not yet understand. There are times I close the door you long to enter, only for you to later realize that what lay behind it was never meant for you. And there are times I unexpectedly open many paths, bringing opportunities, support, encounters, and resources you never anticipated. What you call a miracle, I call the fruit of love that never stopped pursuing you. I do not perform wonders to impress. I act to draw you closer to what I intended for you from the beginning. When each new day begins, choosing to meet with me before all other noise is a very small yet profoundly important step. In doing so, you are saying, I do not want worry, work, or fear to write this day. I want you to be the first to touch my thoughts. When you lay your heart before me in the morning, tension loses its grip on the rest of your day. My spirit comes not to force you into strength, but to disperse the thick cloud of confusion that has long clung to your mind. I reshape how you think instead of seeing yourself only through the lens of failure. You begin to see yourself through my eyes, the eyes of one who loves, understands, corrects, yet never despises. Day by day, I renew your mind like someone slowly wiping a clouded mirror, and one day, you will realize that what you see reflected is not merely a flawed person, but someone gradually glowing from within. That light does not come from self-improvement, but from the divine love I placed in you from the moment you were created. Though life has hardened you, deep within you remains the innocence and longing of a child who wants to be loved, protected, embraced. I see that part of you, and I treasure it deeply. I know there are harsh words others have thrown at you like thorns, wounding you more deeply than you dare admit. I know the nights you lie still, afraid to cry aloud, fearing others might see your weakness. I know the times you pretended to be fine before everyone, and only when alone dared to sigh with me. But do not forget, before all affections that come and go, before every embrace that eventually loosens, my love came first and cannot be replaced. I witness every tear you shed, not one falls in vain when placed in my hands. I draw near, not loudly, not forcefully, but with a gentleness sufficient for your fractured heart not to recoil. I sit beside you, so you will know that even if others turn away, I remain. And from that quiet staying, I continue shaping your faith until it is no longer just a promise made in tears, but a strength you carry daily in ordinary life. After each small step of faith you have just heard, I now want to draw back the curtain so you may see more deeply who you are through my eyes. You often see only someone weak, anxious, fearful, easily discouraged, easily wounded, quick to believe they are nothing. But in my sight, beneath that humility, lies the spirit of a warrior you yourself have never dared to believe in. Not a loud warrior seeking dominance or recognition, but one who is gentle yet steadfast, who bows before me but not before darkness, who knows how to weep without giving up, how to remain tender without breaking. I see in you a rare strength, quiet yet enduring, hidden yet deep, unassuming yet sufficient to lift others when they think they can no longer stand. You may feel small in this world, like a leaf in a vast forest, like a drop in the ocean. People may overlook you, fail to call your name, consider you ordinary or even insignificant. But, my child, your true value is not measured by the crowd's gaze, but by the one who stepped into this world for you. When you enter relationships with others, you do not come empty-handed, you come carrying my spirit, who dwells within you, whether your emotions perceive it or not. The very power that formed the universe, shaped the skies, mountains, and seas, now quietly resides within someone the world calls small. That someone is you. If you believe this, you will stop naming yourself by the labels life has given you. I did not place my spirit within you merely so you might feel warm during prayer and then live unchanged. I placed him there to be a wellspring of strength when you must stand amid thorny circumstances, complex relationships, and difficult choices. When you open your heart to others with sincerity, I use my spirit within you to comfort, soothe, teach, support, and rekindle hope in them. You may think you are only listening, sending a message, holding a trembling hand, but in truth you are becoming a channel through which my healing flows. My power is not noisy, it weaves itself through honest words, compassionate eyes, simple acts, born of a heart that knows me. I want you to understand that I did not give you my spirit so you would live in fear and retreat. Fear causes you to shrink. Passivity robs you of opportunities for me to work through you. Therefore, along with my spirit, I give you a new spirit not of timidity, but of power, love, and sound judgment. I grant you the courage to speak when you would otherwise remain silent, to defend what is right even when your voice trembles, to apologize when it is hard, to forgive when the wound still aches. I also give you self-control, so you know when to stop before words become weapons, when to turn away before a glance becomes contempt, when to breathe deeply before anger turns into destruction. True strength is not found in saying everything you think, but in choosing what must be spoken and what must be released. I did not create your mouth to pour out bitterness, sarcasm, degradation, or endless complaint. I formed your lips to become a doorway through which healing words pass. I desire that what you speak lifts the suffering, comforts the weary, and touches the hopeless with a small but genuine light. I long for you to use your own story, your falls, the times I lifted you, the nights you cried alone, yet sensed me to become living material for encouragement. Every gentle word, every quiet intercession, every small affirmation you offer can become a seed of hope I sow through you in another heart. You do not need to be eloquent, you need only be honest and let me lead. But, my child, I must also say this each time you belittle others, each time you mock, label, or even curse yourself with words of despair. My heart aches. You may not realize it, but every phrase you repeat about yourself that you are useless, insignificant, always behind stands in opposition to what I have declared. You are using your mouth to agree with lies instead of with the truth I have spoken over your life. I did not create you to become a source of contempt, whether toward others or toward yourself. I want your speech restored to its original purpose: to praise, to give thanks, to build up, to heal, to create. Therefore, if you have grown accustomed to speaking poorly of yourself, begin practicing speaking about yourself in my language, even if at first you do not feel it. Speak it in faith. Etch this truth upon your heart: you are not a random product of fate, not the result of a chain of mistakes, not an accident in anyone's story. You are the intentional design of my heart. Before the foundations of the earth were formed, before the stars were hung in the sky, before anyone knew your name, I had already seen you. I thought of you. I traced out a path for you. I chose the exact moment and place where you would appear. The blessings in your life are not the outcome of luck, nor of you just happening to get lucky. They are the result of a loving plan that I have quietly been guiding. Even in the moments when you were unaware, when you think something is random, I know it is a piece of my ordering. I did not choose you so that you would pass through life with your head bowed low, merely trying to get by. I chose you to steward the gifts I have placed within you, the things that may still be sleeping because you have not dared to touch them. In you, there are abilities you have not yet opened, words you have not yet dared to speak, holy dreams you once carried and then abandoned because you thought you were unworthy. I invite you to dig again the wells that have been filled in those graces I gave you that you once tried to use but were mocked for, once expressed but were misunderstood for. So you pulled back. Do not allow the words of others to frame the gifts I have placed inside you. I have entrusted them to you so that you might bring increase, not so that you would bury them in the ground out of fear. You are destined to carry an influence far beyond the small circle you now see. That does not mean everyone must stand on a stage, hold a microphone, or have millions of followers. True influence often begins right in your own home, where you raise a child, care for a sick relative, stay close to a friend whose life is falling apart. I call you to lead a generation not only with your voice, but with the way you live, with the decisions in which you choose to stand on the side of light, with the boundaries you draw so that darkness cannot push further into your family. Every time you refuse to repeat the mistakes of the generations before you, every time you choose forgiveness instead of revenge, every time you stop a cruel word on your lips, you are defeating the enemy more than you realize. I have also given you the authority to silence the roar of the lion that wants to devour your heart with fear, inferiority, and resignation, not by shouting louder, but by standing firm on what I have spoken, even when your emotions tremble inside. Every time you choose to read my word instead of letting your mind drift into dark spirals of thought, you are turning down its roar. Every time you choose to give thanks in circumstances where you cannot yet see a way out, you are pushing back despair. Every time you decide to believe that I am still good, even when your eyes see no change, you are forcing hell to retreat. That is how victory operates in the unseen realm, quiet yet powerful, undramatic yet persevering. Right now, when you look in the mirror, You may see only flaws. You see the lines etched by worry, the dark circles from sleepless nights, eyes whose fire has been dimmed by disappointment, shoulders bent under the weight of responsibility. You see the failures you have made, the words that were spoken over you, the labels the world has pressed onto you. But I want you to know this: the person you see in the mirror is not merely the sum of those weaknesses. That person is also where I am continuing to write a story of victory. That person is a temple for my Holy Spirit to dwell in, a warrior I am training, a carrier of good news into dark places simply by showing up with my heart. If your natural eyes cannot yet see this, then choose to let the eyes of your faith speak. Faith is not pretending everything is fine. Faith is daring to trust what I say when everything inside and outside of you seems to say the opposite. In the spiritual realm, victory was sealed when I gave my own son as the ransom. But for that victory to become alive in your daily life, you need to cling to my promises the way someone in the middle of the waves clings to a rope. There will be days when you do not feel strong, do not feel holy, do not feel loved. On those days, do not wait for your emotions to change before you believe. Believe, so that your emotions can slowly be pulled into line. Today, if you do not feel like you are winning, that does not mean you are losing. Some battles are not measured by feelings, but by the ground on which you choose to stand. If you are still choosing not to turn your back on me, still earnestly crying, "Lord, please help me," still tired, yet refusing to quit, then you are already standing in the ranks of victory. I am calling you, right where you are, to keep holding tightly to my word. Hold fast to the truth that you are loved to the very end, that you have been declared righteous by my grace, that nothing can separate you from that love, that the purpose I have for you is not erased by a few chapters of mistakes. Let these truths sink deep into your heart, not only as information, but as fresh breath. Remind yourself of them, not once, but many times, until what I say becomes the first thing your mind naturally reaches for. As you gradually begin to see yourself, others, and your circumstances through my eyes, you will be surprised to find that you no longer live as someone being dragged along, but as someone who has been sent. In that moment, your faith will no longer be just words on your lips, but a living strength flowing through each choice, each word, each step. And I, the one who began this good work in you, will be faithful to bring it to completion on the day it is finished. Therefore, with every dawn that breaks, before you touch the screen of your phone, before you let messages, news, work, and worries flood in, let your soul touch me first. Begin your day not with a sigh, but with a simple prayer. Father, please lead my steps today. When you dare to place me in that very first moment, your whole day will move to a different rhythm, not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because your heart has been set in the right place from the start. You will find that those minutes of morning prayer and thanksgiving are like a key opening the room of peace I have already prepared for you. You will no longer step into a new day with a heavy face and a gloomy heart, but with a clear awareness. Today I do not walk alone, I am walking with you. When you choose to focus on what I have already done rather than on what you do not yet have, thanksgiving will gradually replace the habit of complaining that has dug deep grooves in your thinking. Complaining is the music of a broken world, but gratitude is the song of a soul that knows it is loved. Each time you stop muttering, "Why me?" and instead say, "Thank you that I still have breath to begin again," you are pulling the windows of heaven a little wider open over your life. You do not need polished, impressive prayers. You only need a heart that looks up and recognizes that I am still holding you, still providing for you, still covering you, That very way of seeing will heal the dark corners that resentment has been rotting away. If you keep spending your days comparing, complaining, and growing bitter, you will lock yourself inside an invisible prison. But when you practice noticing the small graces I give, you will realize that every tiny detail of the day is whispering, I am here, I remember you. Do not be harsh with yourself in a cruel way. My child, I never asked you to beat your own soul into worthiness for me. You have become so used to insulting yourself, scolding yourself, sticking ugly labels on yourself that I never wrote, that you now think this is normal. But I tell you, it is time you learn to treat yourself with kindness, not because you are the center of everything, but because you are my workmanship. When you learn to honor yourself, you are honoring my hands, the hands that formed you. Do not call yourself by the names hell prefers to use. Do not use sarcasm, contempt, and belittling words against your own heart every time you stumble. Learn to speak to yourself with the very gaze I use when I look at you, gentle yet truthful, firm yet full of hope. I do not want you to pamper sin, but even less do I want you to become the executioner of your own soul. And when you learn to forgive yourself after you have repented, you will find it easier to welcome others with mercy. As you begin to give yourself the chance to rise again, to let go of the habit of tormenting your own mind, you will also find it easier to meet others with a smile and respect. Those who have learned to see themselves with compassion will no longer rush to judge the person beside them. When you step out the door, I invite you to carry with you not only your house keys and your phone, but also a very small decision. Today, I will look at each person I meet as a soul that you love. That will change the way you shake hands, the way you greet, the way you respond to things that annoy you. A sincere smile, a warm nod, a simple but respectful greeting. These cost you nothing, yet they can rescue an entire day for someone else. You do not know how many hidden wounds they are carrying, but I know, and I send you as a small ray of light into their schedule. If you will allow it, I will use your smile, your voice, your attitude as healing medicine. Do not underestimate kindness. It is a spiritual gift, not just social politeness. When you choose not to answer harshly, even when you have a reason to, you are standing on my side. When you stand on my side in small reactions, you are opening the way for my power to be revealed in greater things. I am not calling you to live cowardly or to submit to injustice without resistance. I am encouraging you to move forward with courage that comes from me, not reckless impulsiveness, but the courage that knows it is upheld by one greater than any danger. Courage to do what is right, even if you must walk against the crowd. Courage to refuse what is wrong, even when everyone else accepts it. Courage to step out of your comfort zone when I call. And courage to begin again after things have fallen apart. Every time you choose this path, you will see the door to wonders slowly opening before you, wonders your mind could never have calculated. You will see situations you once labeled impossible begin to reveal a way through, not because you have become more capable, but because I have lit up your vision. Where you once saw only a dead end, you will now see a road. Where you once saw only a wall, you will see a launching pad for a leap forward. Along every stretch of your journey, my Holy Spirit does not merely follow behind to clean up your messes, but goes ahead of you to prepare, walks beside you to uphold, lives within you to whisper direction. You do not need to smash stones and tear down every barrier by your own strength, because your task is not to strain and turn yourself into a hero, but to learn how to walk in spiritual sensitivity. Where I say stop, stop. Where I say turn, turn. Where I say do not be afraid, keep going. When you listen, you will see obstacles like boulders being rolled aside, Doors that were locked tight suddenly creak and swing open. Accusations aimed at you become powerless because you are not facing them alone. I am standing behind you. The enemy may roar, but the moment I speak, it must fall silent. Chains that seem generational, patterns that have repeated in your family, things you have resigned yourself to with. That's just how my family is. Can all be broken when my spirit steps in. You were not born to be bound by family history, circumstances, human opinions, or invisible curses. You were created to step out of those weary old patterns in my name. Do not accept the lie that you were born for failure or for a dull, average life. I did not form you for a meaningless script. I did not breathe life into you so you would shuffle along in disappointment and inferiority. I made you with a clear intention. You are, my child, called to stand firm, not to remain fallen. That does not mean you will never stumble, but it does mean that every fall can become the starting point of a deeper journey with me if you take my hand and rise. So, hold tightly to what you believe. Do not surrender the territory of your heart for fear or weariness to occupy. Fear always comes to the door like an aggressive visitor, but it can only stay if you open up. Exhaustion always creeps in when you try to do everything on your own. But when you learn to pause and lean on me, you will find new strength arising from places you did not expect. I do not tell you, do not be afraid as an empty slogan. I say it because I am already there, and I know to whom you belong. Choose to be steadfast, not stubborn for its own sake, but faithful and consistent in trust. Even when your feelings rise and fall, even when circumstances shift, be faithful in the small daily moments of prayer, faithful in returning to my word, whether you are busy or tired, faithful in keeping your heart upright when no one is watching, faithful in loving those I have placed in your life. Diligently seeking me does not mean you must do a lot so I will notice you, but that you keep coming home, again and again, like a child who knows that the Father's house is the only truly safe place. As you let me teach you, you will gradually adjust your direction without even realizing it. Choices you used to get wrong will slowly be replaced by wiser decisions, not because you suddenly became brilliant, but because you are walking in my footsteps. I will teach you to let go of what must be let go, to hold on to what must be kept, to speak when something needs to be said, and to be silent when silence is needed. Those small details, added together, will form a life ordered in the Spirit. When you live this way, your soul will become like a tree planted by clear streams of water, not withering when sudden heat scorches, not breaking when unexpected cold winds blow. You will no longer be like a wild weed tossed by the wind, but like a true tree, roots sunk deep into my word, trunk standing firm in the storm, branches spread wide to shade others, drawing in what I give and sharing it with those around you. The fruit in you will not be a few fleeting emotions, but patience, gentleness, kindness, faithfulness, self-control. These will grow steadily, and your family, your friends, and even those who only briefly pass through your life will find shade there. They will find a resting place in you, not because you are perfect, but because a never-failing stream is flowing through you. In seasons when others are dry and withered, you will still be able to offer a strengthening word, a peaceful attitude, a warm embrace, because you are not drawing from your own meager reserves, but from my source. Yet know this: victory on this journey does not begin on the stage, in dazzling moments or outward success. It always begins in a very hidden place, the honest cry of your heart. Triumph is not born from your perfection, but from the moment you dare to admit before me, I am weak. I need you, Father. Each time you are that honest, You are giving me deeper access to intervene. Do not come to me only with words that stay on the surface. Let your tears, your fears, your shame, your confusion be named before me. When you pray, cry out, and hide nothing from me. I am not indifferent. I listen. I hold you. I rearrange each tangled piece. I answer not only by solving problems, but by tender love, steady care, new strength for tired hands, and deep comfort for places in your heart long neglected. Sometimes I do not change your circumstances immediately, but I change you so that you no longer see those circumstances the way you used to. From this very moment, I invite you to stop living like someone lost who does not know where they belong. Live as the very person I created you to be. You are a child whose roots go deep into your Father's promises, who does not step outside the covenant of love I have for you, who does not bow to human intimidation or unfair criticism, yet keeps a soft heart to love your family and honor those near you. Make time for the people who matter more than your work. Learn to say I'm sorry and thank you under your own roof before you say beautiful words to strangers. Believe that I have already written for you a path brighter than you imagine. You are not chained to what happened yesterday. You are being led by what I am whispering to you today. Take my hand and walk on, not with the harsh strength of one who must prove themselves, but with the steady strength of a child who knows they are loved. For when you dare to live like this, all of heaven walks with you, and the darkness cannot extinguish the light I have kindled in your heart. I know there are times when your heart feels so heavy that it's as if the whole sky is pressing down on your chest. Your breathing turns hurried, and wherever you look, you only see dead ends. You stare at the situation in front of you and ask, how can I endure this? How can I keep going? Yet in the very moments when you feel you might collapse, I am still standing very near like a solid wall behind your back, even before your tears can become words. I have already heard the soundless cracking inside your heart. I am not only a distant God in heaven, I am the place where you can rest your head, the shoulder you can cry on, the arms that will never push you away because you are weak. You do not need to pretend to be strong before me. It is precisely when you tremble that I want to hold you even tighter. When the storm roars outside, I want your heart to remember you still have a place to come home to. The world around you can change color overnight. What seemed certain can collapse in an instant. And what you believed was stable suddenly becomes fragile. People worry, calculate, compete, and cling to whatever they think they can control. You, too, get swept into that whirlpool. Sometimes you think that if you don't manage everything on your own, it will all shatter. But, my child, you were not born to carry the earthquake of life by yourself. I'm still covering you and those you love with a protection that human eyes cannot see. Nothing comes to you without my knowing. No hardship touches you without my allowing it within my good purpose. No matter how thick the bad news is, no matter how panicked people become, you still have the right to be at peace, not because you are so capable, but because you belong to me. I see you worrying about daily needs, about expenses you don't know how to cover, about demands drawing near while your money grows thinner. You look at the numbers, you look at the situation, you look at the lack, and your heart sinks. You forget that I have never stopped being your provider. From the days you were still so small and didn't even know how to call my name, I was already caring for every breath you took in, every restful sleep you had. In the seasons that seemed the most barren, you have still made it to today, not by luck, but by my hand quietly making a way. I do not promise you will always have abundance by the world's standards, but I assure you that you will not lack what you truly need to keep going. I know exactly when you need bread, when you need water, when you need a new door to open. Your bills do not confuse me. I am the one who made the heavens. There are trials you are walking through that you call disaster, bad luck, dark fate. But I see them as necessary pieces in the picture I am painting over your life. You only see the rugged road that makes your feet ache. I see the cliff face strengthening your heels. You only see tears in the night. I see seeds of faith being watered. You only see things being taken from your hands. I see your hands slowly opening to make room for what is new. I do not lead you into thorns to abandon you there. I lead you through, so that one day when you look back, you will realize that every crease in your heart has been used by me to weave a stronger cloak. Hardship is not your final enemy. Despair without me is. I speak to you not from coldness, but from a love that has walked with you through every stumble. Each time you read my word, each time you hear that inner whisper of reminder, those are not unfamiliar lines. They are the voice of a father who understands you more than you understand yourself. I do not speak to make you afraid. I speak so your heart has something to hold on to in the windiest days. I do not use promises like a temporary sweet to help you forget your hunger. I use promises like bread that keeps a soul alive in the desert. If you will slow down, you will realize I am speaking more gently than you imagine, that every day, no matter how gloomy, is still covered by a ray of hope enough for you to finish that day. That hope does not rest in circumstances. It rests in knowing I am still here. In the times you think I am silent, I am actually even closer. I am there when you curl up in a dark corner because of bad news. I am there when you walk out the door with a strained smile so no one knows your heart is tangled. I am there when you want to drop every responsibility, when you are tired of having to look calm so others can feel safe, when you think no one understands you. I understand. When you think no one is with you, I am with you. And I do not merely stand and watch. I quietly support each step you take, placing in your heart sudden ideas, solutions you could not think of, encounters that seem accidental, yet arrive at exactly the right time. You think you are only barely holding on. In truth, you are being held by a strength far greater than your own. I am the refuge you can hide in when every other place feels too tight. When your head is full of noise, run into my heart with a sigh. Lord, I can't bear this anymore. Even that is enough for me to know you have stopped trying to hold yourself up alone. I do not need perfect prayers. I desire a heart willing to sit still under my shadow. When you close your eyes and choose to let your mind rest in my presence, you will feel a peace that does not come from understanding everything, but from knowing you are not the only one carrying the weight. I am steadier than everything you are clinging to, and I am more patient with you than you are with yourself. I am your strength not because you are never weak, but because every time you are weak, you can return to a source that never runs dry. My grace for you is not a ticket that exempts you from every trial. It is a cloak that shields your soul from freezing under life's cold winds. My faithfulness is not merely a beautiful idea for you to read. It is a reality every time you look back at moments that seemed like the end. And yet you are still here. I have been patient with your doubts, with the times you were angry at me but didn't dare say it, with seasons when you lived as if I did not exist. And still I waited, still I warmed your heart with new chances, new relationships, new paths. I hold your hand not because you are always obedient, but because you are my child. And that does not change simply because today you are tired and fragile. Hold tightly to faith, not with clenched teeth or sheer force, but by choosing, every time fear rises, to whisper within, I choose to believe. Believe when you cannot see. Believe when you cannot understand. Believe when every calculation tells you there is no chance left. This is not blind belief. It is trust in the one who has proven his love with his own life. Each time you want to let go, let my word echo in you. Trust me one more day, one more step. Those small beats of trust will become a rope that pulls you out of the mud of despair. You do not have to leap, you only have to not turn your back. I ask you not to accuse you, but so your heart can hear itself besides me. Where else will you run besides me? Who can embrace your deepest fears without ever using them to judge you besides me? Who knows what you have never told anyone and still stays without leaving, without abandoning you? You can try to find comfort in countless things: work, achievement, relationships, entertainment, but none of them can hold your whole soul. Only I know the hidden way into the most broken places inside you. So when everything else is shaking, remind yourself, I am still here, and I still want you to come back and lean on me. The bond between me and you is not a thin thread that can snap at any moment because of your mistakes. It is a cord woven from my eternal will, unchanging. Before you knew how to call my name, I already knew yours. Before you knew how to love me clumsily, I had already loved you completely. No force, no power, no darkness, no curse, no failure. No mistake is great enough to cut that cord as long as you still allow it to remain in your heart. You may let go, but I will not. You may lose your way, but I will still stand in the same place. And the moment you simply turn your head, you will realize I have never gone anywhere. I see the times your mind spins, your heart pounds, your head fills with questions. What now? What will happen? What if I lose everything? That urgency blurs your sight, making your fears grow large while my image in you grows small. You begin to calculate as if I am no longer part of your life's equation. I understand that feeling, because you are still dust in an uncertain world. But I want to soothe you like a panicked child. Do not let fear write your story in my place. What I have promised is not an impulsive comfort. It is a covenant I have placed over your life, firm as the mountains I formed. My promises do not change when your emotions change. They do not waver because you have just lived through a terrible day. I do not withdraw my word because your circumstances have grown more complicated. What I have spoken about guarding you, walking with you, providing for you, and giving you a future filled with hope still stands like pillars in your life. You may see everything else crumbling, but not my word. When you no longer know what to cling to that. When you cannot trust your feelings, trust what I have said. When every voice around you says, it's over, let my whisper answer, not yet, I am still at work. So, today, I stand at the door of your heart, not knocking loudly, only waiting gently for your reply. You can keep trying to carry everything yourself, or you can place every burden into my hands and say, I have nowhere to return except to the Lord. I do not see that as your failure. I see it as the beginning of a new season, a season where you learn to live not by your strength, but by mine, not by your savings, but by my faithfulness, not by control, but by surrender. And when you step into that path, you will realize this, even if the storm does not stop immediately. Your heart has changed, because now you know more clearly than ever that I am with you. Today, tomorrow, and until every promise I have spoken over your life becomes reality. My child, now I want to speak to you about something that sounds simple, yet determines the direction of your whole life. Learn to focus on what truly matters, and do not wear yourself down over trivial things that only tangle your mind. Your time on earth is not as long as you think. Each passing day is a page that cannot be rewritten. So do not let it be filled with meaningless arguments, petty comparisons, and the back and forth of people's tongues. Some things look important at first glance, but in the light of eternity, they are only dust blown by the wind. I have not called you to explain yourself to everyone, nor to be the judge of every matter under heaven. I invite you to spend your strength on what I have placed in your hands, your soul, your family, the work I have entrusted to you. and the mission I have set in your heart. Each time you are dragged into smallness, stop and ask yourself, does this bring me closer to God? Help me love people more. Help me grow. If not, be brave enough to let it go. Because not everything that fills your schedule is worthy of the breath I have given you. I have given you eyes to discern what to keep and what to release. Do not let others decide that for you with their noise. At the same time, you must awaken to a battle being fought in the quietest territory, your mind. Lies and slander are not only out there in other people's mouths, they try to slip into your thoughts, repeating and repeating until you mistake them for truth. There are whispers like, you are useless. You will never amount to anything. You are less than others. How could God still love you? Those words do not come from me. I do not speak to you in a crushing voice. I correct you to lift you up, not to grind your soul down. Do not allow other people's harsh words or your own hasty verdicts about yourself to build a home inside your head. When a thought enters, ask, does this lead me toward light or pull me into darkness? If it draws you away from me, away from joy, away from hope, treat it as a stranger and drive it from the door of your mind. You cannot control people's tongues, but you can choose not to let them rule your heart. Your mind is soil where I want to sow my word. Do not hand it over to lies and resentment. Do not forget, either, that sin does not only appear in the obvious actions people like to list. It slips in through what seems small, yet steals the joy I placed within you. Each time you feed bitterness, let jealousy smolder. Let comparison erode your worth. Let excessive entertainment consume the time meant for me and for those you love each time. The spiritual joy in you is drained little by little. I did not form you to live under constant heaviness, suspicion, and endless irritation. I formed you so your heart would be light, your eyes clear, your lips still have room for gratitude. So when you recognize what is quietly robbing your peace, be more decisive with it, not because I am harsh, but because I know that if you compromise with small wrongs, they will grow and slowly pull you away from my goodwill. Joy is not something you find after satisfying every desire. It springs up when you learn to turn away from what distances you from me and draw near to what I love. Do not exhaust yourself by constantly watching what others are doing, thinking, or how they are treating you. You were not born to live as a reaction to the world's behavior, but to walk by my leading. If you keep staring at every gesture, every word, every attitude of those around you, your heart will soon grow weary, suspicious, and wounded. There are looks you do not need to decode, hints you do not need to swallow. Remember, you are not responsible for fixing everyone's temperament, clearing up every misunderstanding, or managing every opinion about you. Your path is not drawn by other people's moods, it is shaped by the calling I have placed in your soul. Lift your head, look less left and right to measure hearts. Examine fewer details in how others treat you. Instead, look to me and look forward. When you know where you are going, you will be less distracted by the roadside. You may feel lonely even among your own relatives. Sometimes family does not understand you. They say things that sting. An invisible distance keeps growing, and you want to quit. But do not forget they did not enter your life by accident, and you were not placed into that family by mistake. Whether close or distant, whether harmonious or cracked with fractures, those people are still where I have entrusted you with a share of responsibility to love, to intercede, and to persevere. I know some wounds come from the very roof called home. I do not deny that pain, but I also do not allow it to be meaningless. I have set you there amid differences, amid misunderstandings, not so you remain a victim for life, but so you become one who stands in the middle, quietly praying, quietly loving, quietly sowing good, even when no one answers the way you hope. Do not give up because of the present distance. I can use these seemingly cold days to prepare a season of healing beyond what you can imagine. You do not realize that I have wrapped within you far more wisdom than you give yourself credit for. Through every stumble, through the years of collisions, loss, choosing to keep silent for the sake of peace, and looking back because you want to grow, your thoughts have been tempered and refined. That wisdom is not given for you to raise yourself up, but for you to use in the moments when you need to speak the right word, take the right step, and choose the right attitude. Do not keep seeing yourself as someone who is always wrong, always behind. That way of looking at yourself paralyzes the abilities I have placed in you. Believe that I have put in you a certain sensitivity that others may not have, a particular calmness, a way of seeing problems, or a persevering heart that even you did not expect. When you begin to value the wisdom I give instead of denying yourself, you will become bolder in your decisions and no longer so easily driven by passing emotions or sweet-sounding temptations. For this reason, I invite you to cast away the gloomy feelings that are stealing your joy. Like someone resetting a room by opening every window to let the light rush in, you cannot avoid moments of sadness, anger, or feeling hurt, but you can choose not to let them stay too long. Whenever you find yourself falling into the spiral of self-pity, blaming your lot, comparing yourself, or belittling yourself, remember that is not the voice I want you to listen to. Bring those emotions before me. Speak to me honestly, and let me clear them away with you. Do not let your heart become a garbage dump for negative thoughts. Let it become a garden for the mission I sow. When your focus is no longer, what do people think of me, or how have I been treated, but what do I want to do through you today? Joy will return without you having to force it. Your mission is not something vague, high up in the sky, but the concrete road I am opening, where you walk with the people you love. I am not calling you to run alone, leaving behind the companions I have placed beside you. Take the hand of your life partner, the one I have given you to share the same roof, the same joys and sorrows, the same challenges. The two of you are not rivals, nor judges of each other, but partners on the same front line. When one grows weary, the other intercedes. When one hesitates, the other reminds you of the promises I have spoken. Do not let conflict, ego, or the habit of silence slowly pull you apart. Remember that the goal is not to win an argument, but to reach the finish line together. If you learn to cherish the companion I have given you, you will see that the road of life becomes less steep, because you are not carrying everything alone. As the one who carries the weight of the household, whether you are a husband, a wife, or the eldest child, I have entrusted you with a responsibility, not for showing off, but for serving. Carrying the weight is not only about earning money or arranging everything so it looks in order. It is about watching the faces in your home to see who is sad, who is weak, who needs a word of concern or an embrace. Carrying the weight means not neglecting the ordinary meals that seem so simple, because I still use those ordinary moments to mend the invisible bonds. Carrying the weight means quietly lifting each family member up to me in prayer before you sleep, calling them by name, asking me to protect them, asking me to touch the corners of their hearts that you cannot reach. You may not be able to do everything you want for your family, but you can always ask me to do what is beyond your reach, and that is how you fulfill your calling in a humble yet powerful way. Therefore, I remind you, do not waste the days I give you. The health you still have, the memory you still keep, the heartbeat still pulsing, the feet still able to walk, all of it is capital I have placed in your hands. Do not wait until you are exhausted to wish you had lived differently. Right now, use the body, the time, and the strength you have to do what is right, love the right people, and walk in the right direction. I do not promise that you will never be tired, but I promise that I will be the one who lifts you up every time you feel you have no strength left. I send into your life timely encouragement through Scripture, through a brother or sister, through a small event you think is coincidence, but is really a sign. I surround you with blessings not only when you receive, but especially when you give. Give your presence. Give forgiveness. Give sharing. Give even from what you think you lack. Remember a spiritual principle I have set as an unchanging law. Whoever lives to bring blessing to others will always find that they themselves are never truly in want. Not because they are richer than others, but because I do not let the cup that knows how to pour out ever run dry. When you share, you think you are losing, but in the spiritual realm, you are creating space for me to fill. I have many ways to fill your table through your own diligence. Through the doors of work I open, through the genuine relationships I arrange, even through things you have never imagined. The abundance I promise is not only food and drink, but the sound of laughter in your home, peaceful sleep at night, and a gentle atmosphere, even when your material circumstances are not always plentiful. And above all, I remind you of a foundation that can never be shaken if you put my kingdom and my righteousness first, meaning you choose to live by my standards before calculating your own gain. Then the things you truly need for this life I know well, and I will provide. I am not telling you to sit still and wait for a miracle. I call you to keep walking and keep trusting. When you choose honest decisions, even if it costs you some advantage. When you keep your heart pure, even though shortcuts are within reach. When you give priority to time with me instead of chasing every other call. You are building your life on a solid promise. That is the foundation for those who dare to entrust their future. Dare to step boldly into the destiny I have for them. Dare to live differently from the way of life that worships as long as it benefits me. My beloved child, lift your head. Let go of what weighs your heart down. Take my hand and keep moving forward. I have gone ahead of you. I am walking with you, and I will wait for you at the end of the road I have prepared. You only need one thing. Do not let small matters, lies, or meaningless fears steal the beautiful days I am still giving you. My child, I want you to hear this with all your heart. I did not throw you into life and then stand far away to watch. Nor did I merely hand you some seeds and leave you to struggle alone in harsh sun and wind. I, myself, am the one who prepares the soil, the hoe, the water, and the sun for you. And every situation you face, whether smooth or rough, can become a field where your faith takes deeper root if you choose to remain with me in it. The trials you call disasters are often the secret classrooms I open, not to crush you, but so you may see how strongly my hand lifts you up, so you realize that provision, protection, and guidance have never left your life for even a moment. I want you to understand that in every contrary wind, I am still watching so it does not go beyond your strength. Like a father standing beside his child, learning to walk on rocky ground, both letting you learn to stand on your own feet and never taking his eyes off you so that if you fall, my arm immediately catches you. To me, each of your stumbles is not a joke, but an opportunity for me to draw closer and whisper to you, you are not alone. When worries about daily needs, health, family, the future, suddenly rise up and surround your mind like dark waves that leave you breathless, I do not wait for you to prepare a perfect prayer or a flawless ritual before I listen. I want you to come to me the way you did as a little child, only knowing to run straight into your father's arms when you were afraid, only knowing to cling to his neck and cry, only knowing how to say tangled but honest words. I long for you to return to that simplicity. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. and speak to me with your own plain language, Lord. I am tired. I am afraid. I don't know what to do, but I believe you are here with me. To me, the value of prayer does not lie in how polished it sounds, but in whether your heart truly gives itself to me. I am moved by your sighs more than by any ornate sentence you strain to pronounce correctly. I do not call you to perform. I call you to rest in my arms like a child coming home after a long, stormy day. The faith I desire in you is not a rigid faith that is always straining to prove itself, nor a faith that bends according to emotions, high one moment and low the next. I long to see in you a clear and honest trust, not cleverly covered up, not full of calculation, not a faith that has to tiptoe around fear, but a trust that dares to bring all its fear and lay it before me, believing that I still love you even when you have not yet conquered the trembling inside. I do not demand that you always appear strong, unshaken, and never confused, because I know well that you are made of dust. I understand every crack and every weakness in you better than you understand yourself. I am never surprised by any of your moments of wavering. The only thing that saddens me is when, out of fear of punishment, fear of blame, or fear of being looked down on, you avoid me, run from me, and lock yourself in shame instead of coming and telling me honestly how tangled you feel inside. I did not create the father-child relationship so that you would live with a slave mentality, always watching to see if I am angry or ready to strike. I want you to know deep within that yes, I discipline you, but it is the discipline of love, not irrational rage. I shape you like a patient potter adjusting the form of a vessel, not like a hot-tempered person who smashes it and walks away. What I desire most from you is not a perfect moral resume, nor a long list of spiritual achievements. I long for something simpler yet far greater. I want you to love me and to want to know me, like a child gradually discovering the character of its father, learning to recognize his voice in the midst of many noises, learning to trust that the Father truly is the place it can return to at any time. From there, I lead you step by step into eternal life, not just as a vague destination in some distant future, but as a stream of living water flowing in the present, changing how you see yourself, others, loss, wounds, and hope. To me, the final goal is not for you to pass the course of this life and get into heaven like a cold ticket of entry. I want you to live with me forever as a child at home, no longer afraid of being cast out, no longer haunted by past failures, no longer chained by darkness. I begin that even now by surrounding you, caring for your family, and opening your eyes to how I am protecting those you love from dangers they do not even know about. The love I have for you is not a love that dazzles with loud, showy displays. Often it comes like a gentle hand on your shoulder at the moment you think you are about to collapse, like a word of comfort from someone you did not expect, like a small door opening just when you thought every way was closed, or like a strange peace flooding your heart in the middle of the night. Even though the problem is still there, but it no longer feels like it is swallowing you whole. I love you through those small things more than you can count, and I will continue to show my love in ways you sometimes cannot even name. You only know that afterwards you feel more clearly, so God really is paying attention to every detail of my life. I have never forgotten a single tear of yours, nor overlooked a single small smile you tried to hide so that no one would worry about you. But for you to recognize and receive all that I have for you, what I need from you is not a polished, edited, artificially healed version of yourself. I want you to come to me as you are, with all the knots not yet untied, the wounds not yet healed, the hidden corners you are ashamed of and think you shouldn't bring to God, the anger you conceal, the jealousy you do not want to admit, the weariness you dare not tell anyone. I am not afraid of the truth about you. because I have seen it all long before you had time to be afraid. I am not shocked by the dark thoughts you have had. I am not startled by the times you wanted to give up. Nor do I run away when you confess what you think is unforgivable. On the contrary, I can only work miracles on what is placed in my hands, and sincere confession is the doorway for my light to shine into the places you once kept locked. So I plead with you, do not cover. Do not repaint. Do not push things away. Tell me everything, so that I may truly be a father to you in the way I mean to be. Not a distant figure whose name you repeat in rituals, but never really dare to lean on. My child, I long to see you not just surviving each day, but living in a way that is healthy, full, deep, and steady in every area in your relationship with me, in your inner life, in your relationships with others, in your body, in your work, in your finances, and in your capacity to love people. I am not reluctant to bless you. I only fear that if blessings come when your heart is not yet healed, they themselves will become a burden on your shoulders. That is why I slow down to build the foundation with you. I teach you to be moderate, to let go of what harms you, to hold on to what is truly valuable, to discern what is only a shell and what is the core, so that when I enlarge your territory, your soul will be wide and mature enough to receive it without shattering. I want you to prosper, but not in a way that leaves your soul dried out. I want a wholeness of prosperity, where your soul finds rest in me. Your mind is clear. Your body is cared for. Your relationships are healed. Your work has meaning. Your finances are managed wisely, and you are able to give more than you merely hold on to. For that is when my image in you is most clearly reflected, the one who is not only sufficient for himself, but becomes a source for many others. And my child, this is exactly what I have dreamed for you since before you were even born. Now, my child, quiet your heart and offer to me the most sincere prayers, those that rise from the deepest place within you. Almighty God, you who see through every hidden thing in my heart, today I come before your presence with all my frailty and brokenness. Teach me to look back at myself through your compassionate gaze, not through the criticism, condemnation, or distorted memories that life has sown within me. Help me believe that I am not merely a survivor of storms, but that I was created to become a small lighthouse, reflecting your light in the dark seas of this world. Let your grace shine into every crack within me, so that the very place where I once stumbled may become the place where your mercy radiates. May the way I live, the way I forgive, and the way I rise after falling become a living letter of the love you have for me. And please do not let me hide the good things you are quietly doing in this small life, simply because I fear what others might say. Loving Father, you who hold every moment in your hand, I lay my shattered past at your feet. There are pages of my life I want to tear away. There are memories that leave me ashamed and weary, yet today I choose to believe they no longer have the power to define my future. Help me stop living with my head turned backward. Stop letting yesterday's failures dim today's hope. Father, cut the invisible cords that bind my mind to sin, to mistakes, to the voices that once paralyzed me. Place your hand upon my memory, so that whenever I remember what is behind me, I will not be drowned by it, but will give thanks because you have pulled me out, and lead me into the new pages you yourself are writing, with a courage and peace that do not come from me, but from your presence in every step I take. Merciful Lord Jesus, you who walked the entire road of the cross for me, grant me a faith that stands firm even when my emotions waver. So often I can believe only when things are going well. But when the storm rises, my heart trembles, and my eyes see nothing but failure and threat. Teach me to trust you not by feelings, but by a daily choice, choosing to hold your hand, choosing not to return to the old way of life, choosing to move forward, even if it is only one small step, when my requests have not yet been answered. Keep me from quickly concluding that you are silent or that you have abandoned me. Help me know that you are quietly working in the stillness. When I am exhausted and want to let go, remind me of the cross where you did not let go of me, so that I may find the courage to take one more step. And let every trial I pass through become a refining fire, making my faith purer, steadier, and more mature according to your will. Almighty God, I bow to give you thanks for choosing me, though I am small, weak, and have fallen so many times. I thank you because you do not see me only through my mistakes, but through your love and the plan of salvation you have held from eternity. I thank you that you did not let the darkest chapters of my life become the final period, but instead used them as the ground upon which you continue to write new pages filled with hope. Thank you that there has never been a time I cried out and you turned your face away, even when all I could whisper were a few feeble words. Please receive this simple yet sincere gratitude, for without you I would not have had the courage to stand firm until today. Compassionate Father, I thank you that the holy covenant you established with me is not based on my worthiness, but on your faithful love. I give thanks that the blood of your only Son was poured out, becoming the decree that erased my sentence and called me out of the darkness of sin. Thank you that every time I doubt, the cross becomes a reminder that I am not worthless, but that I was purchased at the cost of your Son's very life. So many times I have forgotten this and let shame and fear control me. Yet you have remained patient, leading me back to the source of hope. Let my whole life become a living song of thanksgiving, not merely a few passing words upon my lips. I offer this prayer in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, so together we can build a strong and growing community of faith.